Our last lesson this week is going to be looking at what surgery was like during the medieval period. Now, surgery back in the medieval period was very different to surgery we have today. This lesson, we've got 3 learning objectives. Number 1, to understand what knowledge of anatomy people had during medieval times. Number 2, to explain the dangers of surgery and the surgical techniques used to treat patients. And then learning objective number 3, to analyse a source about medieval surgery to determine how useful it is to a historian. During the medieval period, people's knowledge of the human body was very different to the knowledge we have today. On the screen is a diagram of what people during the 14th century thought the human body looked like. Answer the questions in blue in your books in full sentences. If you're a secure student, can you record yourself, just your voice, for no more than 15 seconds explaining how much people knew about anatomy during the medieval period? If you're a master's student, answer the question in purple. Why would thinking the human body looked like this be dangerous when performing surgery? During the medieval period, surgery was very dangerous. There was no way to prevent things like blood loss, infections, or pain. It was therefore only really attempted rarely and for very minor procedures. You need to open the Word document that's labelled Medieval Surgery on class charts. Read through that information carefully. On the screen now, there is a true or false mini quiz. On your whiteboards, after you've read the information, write down whether the statements opposite are true or false. If they are false, correct the statement to make it true. Secure students, you are then going to explain what you think the most dangerous thing about surgery was, and draw an image to represent your answer. Mastered students, how different is surgery today? Compare what surgery was like during the medieval period to how surgery is today. Remember to be taking pictures of each of your completed tasks. Okay, Y10, so now we know what people during the medieval period thought the human body looked like. We also know some of the problems that surgery had. What we're going to do now is analyse a source about medieval surgery. On the Word document that's labelled Medieval Surgery, look at the source carefully. Once you've done that, on screen there is a video of me analysing that source. Watch it carefully. Once you've watched the video, complete the exam practice question that's on the top of the screen now. How useful is Source A to a historian studying surgery in medieval times? Source A is the picture on your Word document. If you're a developing student, you are going to complete that exam practice question using one of your own examples of content. Do not copy the ones from my video. If you're a secure student, you're going to complete the practice question using 2 of your own examples, either content or provenance. If you're a mastered student, you're going to complete that exam practice question using examples of both content and provenance. Remember to take a picture of your completed exam practice question for us to be able to mark.
Widely read. Now, it's a popular book that's widely read. Why is it popular? Maybe it's because it's teaching others about surgery. Now that we've looked at the content and the provenance of the source, we need to be explaining why it's useful to a historian studying this time period. So from my own knowledge, I know that barber surgeons, they were the ones that would typically be carrying out this type of surgery. This was because there were very few medically trained doctors available and they would often be expensive. So, commonly carried out surgery as doctors were expensive. They're performing an amputation. Now again, from my own knowledge, I know that amputations was a very common type of treatment. And this source shows that they had a very natural approach to medicine. by performing the amputation. Now we'll look at the provenance again. So a print from the 1400s, which we now know is the end of the medieval period. So this is a good representation of what's happening at the time. As the source was made during this time, obviously it's going to tell us about what is happening at that time period it was produced in. Also, the book is teaching others about surgery. Who would it have been most useful to? It's going to be most useful to barber surgeons because they don't have the training that other doctors do. Now that we've analysed the source, we need to start thinking about constructing our answer. Now the source question is out 8 marks, so we need to write 2 peel paragraphs. Paragraph 1 is going to be looking at the content of the source. What can you actually see in the picture? Paragraph 2 is going to be about the provenance of the source, where it's from, the origin, and its purpose. Now to write our peel paragraphs, we're going to use the standard sentence starters we always use. Number 1, source A is useful because it shows. What can you physically see in the picture? You can see barber surgeons, you can see them performing an amputation. You then need to tell me what this suggests about surgery or about medicine in medieval times. From my own knowledge, you then need to include your own contextual knowledge to back up what you can see in the source. We've already done that on our annotation, so we can see barber surgeons, and we know from our own knowledge that barber surgeons commonly carried out surgery as doctors were too expensive at this time period. Therefore, your last sentence starter, you need to link it back to the question. So therefore, source A is useful to a historian. Remember, you need to write 2 peel paragraphs. Paragraph 1 is the content of the source. What can you see? Paragraph 2 is going to be about the provenance of the source, where it's from, what its purpose was.